What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Hope y'all have an amazing day as usual. So today we are currently in Centralia, Pennsylvania, which is an abandoned ghost town here in eastern Pennsylvania. This video is being filmed in April of 2021, but because I'm probably not going to be in Pennsylvania in October, I'm just recording this video now. We are currently in Centralia, Pennsylvania, which, in case you don't know, is an abandoned ghost town. I'll explain more about it in a minute. I just gotta go out. Before I get into basically the description of Centralia, PA, it is located at the junction of Route 61 and Route 42 here in eastern Pennsylvania. And it's about an hour and a half northwest of Allentown. And it's kind of located in the middle of nowhere in coal mining parts of Pennsylvania. And there's lots of coal mining in Pennsylvania. This is part of the town, like I said, had went abandoned because of a coal fire. The reason why is because really don't apologize for getting distracted, but I believe all the haunted stuff is up that way. There's so we're gonna go bus to pick up ghost kids. No, I'm just kidding. So what I was saying is now I actually saw some wind turbines in the area, which means that Pennsylvania is finally starting renewable energy. It's about time that these stubborn coal miners actually realize that coal is not coming back, and the coal mining jobs are not coming back. Trust me, I've been through some coal mining towns in Pennsylvania. Some of them are nice. Some of them are wealthier towns, like Coal Point and Mount Carmel are actually nice, but Shamokin looks like okay, I don't mean to say that, but Shamokin looks really bad. I mean, it's gray. The homes are run down because people are poor, because a lot of them don't have jobs. But the even worse part is that the homes are gray because of the coal, because there's a coal mine right next to Shamokin. It looks like that. So this right here is called Railroad Avenue. I don't see a railroad, but I bet there was probably a freight train carrying coal at the time. So yeah, I'm walking the wrong direction. I'm sorry. My locations sometimes get wrong when cell service is bad. But I'm really getting caught off track just talking about other things, so I promise definitively that we're going to talk about Centralia in a second. So Centralia is a town located in the Bloomsburg area, or the Scranton kind of area, which they call 570 in eastern Pennsylvania. And the town went not abandoned, but the coal fire started in 1962. And eventually, at the time, the reason for the fire was because they were burning coal. I mean, they were burning garbage at a local landfill in the area, right next to an active coal mine, which is dumb. Then again, people in the 60s weren't as bright as they are now. And one of the serious issues was no one viewed it as a threat, because there's a bus in Centralia. Now, the thing is back then, there were tons of coal fires, and there's still coal fires burning right now. And none of them are really a big threat. But the issue was, at the time, it was just another coal fire, we're not going to take it really seriously. And no one took it seriously until about 10 or 15 years later. No one was moving yet or anything like that, until a kid my age fell into a hole. A hole that just in his backyard on this road, by the way, just gaped in. And the kid, he survived and didn't have any injuries because his brother saw him in the hole, and he could have been dead. So, it was a serious issue at the time. And then the Pennsylvania government started taking it seriously. Someone was going to have to get injured or die for the government to take it seriously at the time. So the issue was, at that point, people were taking it seriously. And one guy who owned a gas station on this road checked his temperature for the tanks and realized that they were really hot. Usually they're around 70 or 60 degrees is what the gas should be. It was 180. So people were really fearing for it, and a lot of people were leaving. And around the 80s, that's when people started to leave. At the time, it was completely voluntary, and the Pennsylvania government even went as far as saying, there's the turbines. The Pennsylvania government went as far as saying, it's going to be completely voluntary. Nothing's still going to happen to the town. You're going to be fine. But they still had to have people come out and check the meters and stuff to make sure that everyone was safe. Well, eventually people started leaving, you know, because there was many more problems. You know, the town was getting hot. People were having holes gaping out of their yard. I mean, their home could come just crashing down at the time. So that was really, really dangerous. We're going down some abandoned road right now, which probably had houses at the time. And there's a lot of illegal dumping, so that's not good. Now at the time, people were leaving. And then there were a lot of people that didn't want to leave. Okay, they were like, "This is my hometown, and I'm going to stay here." And it was a nice town at the time. Everyone knew each other. It wasn't a wealthy place. It was far from a wealthy place. It was very middle class, but people liked it, and everyone was friendly to each other. And everyone would sit out on their porch, front door porch, and be like, "Oh, hey, Mary. Hi, Barbara." That type of thing, back in the day. And so there were a lot of diehard residents that didn't want to leave. And so by the 90s, people really started leaving. And by then, they were like, by the year 2002, they suspended the zip code for the town. So now there was no more zip code for Centralia. So at this time, I don't know why I keep on saying at the time, people at this point were pretty much forced to leave. And like 100 or so people, I think it was a little bit less than 100, but at the time, people were like, "No!" And they were like protesting, like, "We're not leaving Centralia." So they came to a final agreement that basically said, you can live in Centralia if you wish, but once you die, your home will be torn down. So there's still 11 people that live in the town right now. And back in the day, these were all houses. So just imagine what it would be like back then. The streets were kind of narrow too, but... So really, all the homes have been torn down, and now there's only 11 people left. And as of right now, the fire's underground, so it is still burning. But the thing is it's not toxic anymore like it used to be, and now you won't see smoke anymore. But it still was a serious concern. Okay, so here comes a car. So it was still a concern. It's still a concern, but not anymore. Like, in the winter, like say 10 years ago, you'd be able to see smoke. The fire's still burning, and it's going to burn for another 200 years. So we're going to be dead by time that ever happens. But last time I was in the town, I saw like coal. And now there's a highway called Graffiti Highway that went abandoned a while ago because there were holes in the road. And so they had to reroute Route 61, and now it's an abandoned highway known as Graffiti Highway. So people were like tagging with graffiti everywhere. And then eventually, in last April 2020, there were dirt companies or trucking companies that were dumping their dirt there. And now it's just covered in dirt mounds. And most people are devastated by that. I am too. Because it was a beautiful highway with all the graffiti. So it was kind of upsetting. I wasn't 100% sure if we were going to come here or not, so I just came prepared. And so this is the old Graffiti Highway. What I'm hoping is in maybe like a couple of years, they'll have enough time to, because there's still other roads in the town. So I'm hoping that maybe a couple of years in the future, people can finally, turn other roads into Graffiti Highway. I hope they don't cover them in dirt mounds. We'll see though. So we're coming up to Graffiti Highway. This here is Graffiti Highway. As you can see, covered in dirt mounds. I don't want to go too far, but because I don't have a lot of time, we got to get back to New Jersey. As you can see, this is what the dirt mounds look like. It's really, truly tragic. What we could do is write graffiti on some of the street signs. Actually, this one looks brand new. They probably have to change it like every day. So we're not going to do that. We're going to go like right here and just color it up. I know what I just did was illegal, but what are they gonna do? So here's a little pond, and if you actually look closely, I gotta go soon, but if you actually look closely, this is coal, people. There's tons of coal mines in the area. So I'll just explain more once we get back to New Jersey.
We had our own bank, own post office, and anything any other town would have.
It was a habit in the summertime of everybody to sit out on their front porches, and they'd all say hello to me. I never worried about my safety. I never worried about not being able to get help.
It was a safe place to grow up. A lot of times we didn't lock our doors, and life was sweet. Picnics in the summertime, out on what we call the picnic ground.
They had the block parties up by this church and the school up there.
Yeah. They'd have hot dogs and that, and a couple of rides for kids.
A lot of food, rides for kids, yeah. It was
good.
I was working in Jersey, but every time I came up to visit my family and stuff like that, we'd just see a house or two gone here. Next time you come up, another one or two gone. Just a slow process, you know.
This particular 100 block was home to about 10 families back as far back as the 1980s. Now I'm the last person left on this block and on this entire street for that matter. My last neighbor, Joe Moyer, who lived on the intersection of West Park and Locust Avenue, passed away 2 years ago. So I'm
pressure more than anywhere else in the world, compressing out all the impurities in the vegetation and making the anthracite coal the purest coal in the world. 96% of all the anthracite in the United States, and that's 3/4 of the world's supply of anthracite coal, is right here in this small part of Pennsylvania. But this anthracite coal, once you do get it burning, it does burn long and hot, okay? And it does continue to burn. That's what fuels the fire.
What I miss is that when I go there to visit, I really have no hometown. It's kind of like a man without a country. I have no hometown to go back to. So there's no visiting old neighbors. There's no going to the local, restaurant to see, people or whatever. Really, the only time you get to run into old neighbors is Memorial Day weekend.
Kind of an east-west direction, and the highway was kind of a north-south highway. It was the main road through Centralia, and it cut directly across the path of the mine fire. You had tremendous amounts of steam coming out of the sides of the highway. And when that fog and the steam combined, I mean, if you drove into that, you literally did not know which way was up. It was a very dangerous situation.
Eventually, of course, the roadway became buckled, and you couldn't, it was impassable.
They did try a couple times to, pump fly ash or non-combustible material down there, but it just wasn't enough. And so eventually they just closed the highway and rerouted it.
Alright, so I am back in New Jersey, so that was pretty much the end of the Centralia video. It is actually October of 2021. As you know, this was filmed in early April of 2021. My neighbor's dogs, oh my gosh, they're always barking. My dog barks, but my dog barks really loud. But these ones just yap. I think they're smaller dogs. That or they're communicating to each other, I don't know. But so I'm back in New Jersey. So I've just been looking more into the Centralia documentary, and I kind of think about it a lot. So one of the questions that I think is very interesting to me is like, why would anyone stay in Centralia? There's, like I said, there's only 11 people that still live there. And according to the Pennsylvania government, they can, like I said, they can live out their lives in Centralia if they wish. But once they die, their homes will be taken through eminent domain. Now, there's a documentary about Centralia that's about an hour long. And it's just interviewing a lot of the locals, the ones who have stayed and the ones who have moved out. But most of the people in that documentary moved out. But there were still a lot of people who were in denial and did not want to leave Centralia. The thing is, though, is to me, it seems foolish to live there, especially because there's so many other places in the area you can live in. There's Ashland, which is nearby, which isn't a very nice town, but it's better than what they had in Centralia. There's also the town I showed in the beginning of the video. That was Mount Carmel, however you want to pronounce it. That place is a decent town. There's Bloomsburg, also. There's Hazleton, there's Scranton. There's so many other choices in that area. And what's scary about living in Centralia is that the homes, using the word eminent domain, and I was actually learning about it in history class the other day. It actually means like they tore down in Centralia like 50 homes at a time. They would just get people out of there. And at the time in Pennsylvania, there were so many bad politicians. But the amount of money it would cost to just relocate people into other towns was way cheaper than putting out the fire. They should have just put the fire out in the 60s. I mean, this is going to, and it's going to burn for hundreds of years. So once we die, Centralia is still going to be burning. So technically, the people who still live in Centralia, they're technically squatting in their own homes. The Pennsylvania government can kick them out whenever they want to. And maybe for some people, I can understand why. But for anyone who was like young and was forced to relocate, I don't know why they would want to stay. But anyways, that's going to be for today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and God bless to everyone.